Hi there everyone, and welcome back to the next lesson of factorization. And this new factorization law in grade 10 is called a grouping. Now with grouping we usually have 4 terms, but there isn't a common factor for all 4 terms. Okay, so when we look at the 4 terms, we cannot take out a common factor for all 4 terms. Okay, so there is no common factor. It can't be a difference between 2 squares because there's not 2 terms, right? And it's also not a trinomial because this is 4 terms. So now we call this a grouping. First of all, well, you have 2 choices. Take out a common factor from the first and second term. Okay, so we look at the first and the second term and we take out a common factor. Now let's do that. So forget about the rest of the sum. We're only looking at the first 2 and what is a common factor between those 2. Well, that one is a squared, that one is a a. There's a a, there's a a. What's the most a's I can take? Only one a, right? So I take out a and then I open up brackets. Then I say a squared divided by a will be an a, and plus a divided by a will be a 1. Okay, then we close the bracket. Now, then you take a common factor from the third and fourth term. Okay, so now the third term starts there from in front of the minus, right? So that is my third and that's my fourth term. So what is the common factor between those 2? Now I'm going to circle them in green. So I want the common factor between those 2. Now there's a minus 3, there's a minus 3, there's a b, and there's a b. So I can take out between the signs, I can take out a minus, and I can take out a highest common factor of 3 between that and that 3, right? So let's take out the 3. And then we have also a b and a b, so I can take out the b. There we go. And then we open up brackets. So we take that term divided by this one. Remember, don't forget about the sign as well, because we took out a minus 3 from both, right? Okay, so a minus and a minus is a plus, so it's going to be a positive term there. 3 divided by 3 is 1. AB divided by B is just the A, right? So we are just going to be left with an A. And then we're also going to end up with a plus. So be careful because it's minus 3B divided by minus 3B, which will be a positive 1, right? Don't forget signs when we divide. Minus and a minus is a plus. 3 and 3 is a 1, and B is also a 1 when we divide. And then 1 times 1 is just a 1, right? Because if we take the same term divided by the same thing, we get a 1, right? Okay, awesome. Now look here, we ended up writing 4 terms in just 2 terms. There you can see the 2 terms. Now what is in common between the first term and the second term? It's the brackets, right? So let's take out those brackets. So it's a plus 1, because I can take an a plus 1 there and an a plus 1 there. And then we open up a box, and what is left? A minus 3b, because if I take a times the brackets divided by the same brackets, those 2 will cancel, just the a is left. There we go, minus, and we will have a 3b left, because that whole term divided by that will just be minus 3b. Yes? Okay, brilliant. Now I said up here that, well, you have 2 choices. Now we took out a common factor from the first and the second. Then we took out a common factor from the third and the fourth. Now you will see that you have 2 terms. Yes, we had 2 terms of which both have the same brackets. Yes, that one had the same bracket as that. So take the brackets out as a common factor. We took out the bracket as a common factor. And then we wrote down what is left, right? Because after you take out a common factor, you take the original term divided by that, and that original term divided by that to give me the 3b, right? Okay, we've been through that. Now, what's the other choice? The other choice we have is we can take out a common factor from the first with the third term. Okay, so the first with the third term. Now what is in common there? It's just a, and then we have left a minus 3b, right? Because if I take a from this one and that one, I write the a squared divided by a is a, minus 3ab divided by a is a minus 3b, right? Okay, cool. Now, the next step is to look at the second and the fourth. Now, we have to factorize, but there's nothing in common there except a 1, okay, a positive 1. So I'm just going to take out a 1 out of those two, and if I take out a positive 1, nothing will change. So I just open up brackets and I put the a minus 3b in brackets. Now, here again, we have two terms, right? Okay, I'll separate them there. And what is in this term that's in that term? A bracket a minus 3b. There it is, there it is. So let's take it out as a common factor. So I'm going to take out a minus 3b. And then we are going to take that term divided by a minus 3b. It's just a. So what is left in my brackets is just a. And then if I take that bracket divided by the same one, it's not a 0. It's going to be a plus 1. And look, we get exactly the same answer as up there. It's just that the brackets are in a different order. And when we multiply, it doesn't matter which bracket comes first, right? So exactly the same. Okay, so don't forget these steps. I always like to go with the first and the second and find the common factor, and also the third and the fourth and find the common factor. It's always much quicker and you can easily see it because they're so close together. Now let's go and try some more examples. Now if you are not sure yet, just go through the video in the beginning again. But it's quite easy, so you give these a go. And once you are ready, resume the video and see if you are correct. Now here I go. So I'm going to look at this and see if there's a common factor. Well, there's no common factor I can take out of all four terms. This is not a common factor. It's not a difference between two squares. It's not a trinomial. This is four terms. It's a grouping. So I'm going to look at those two. And I am going to look at those two and see if I can take out a common factor. Now, what's the common factor between those two terms? Now, it will be a to the power of 2. Let's take that out and open up brackets. So, a to the power of 3 divided by a to the power of 2 is just a. Then we have a plus. So, 2a squared divided by a squared will just be a 2. So, I've got a plus 2. Great. Now, here I have to choose what I'm going to take out. Now, because this is a plus, I really want that sign to become a plus, right? So I'm going to take out a minus 2 from both of these. I can take out a 2 from the 2 and the 4 because that is the highest common factor between the 2 and the 4. But I'm just going to take out a minus 2. Okay, you either take out a positive 2 or a negative 2. I took out a negative 2. And then I open up brackets to see what is left. Minus 2a divided by minus 2 is just a. And then minus 4 divided by minus 2 gives me a plus 2. And that is why I took out a minus 2, because now I have brackets that's exactly the same. Okay, now I can quickly show you what would have happened if I took out a positive 2. If I took out a positive 2, the brackets would have ended up to be minus a and minus 2. And then I don't have the same brackets. I've got brackets with two different signs that's different from those two. And I had to take out a minus. That would become a minus, a plus, and then we would have that, right? You remember that from the common factor. So it is good to, if you can early on see that you want the same brackets and whether you should take out a negative 2 or just a positive 2, okay? And then we can see that the brackets are in common, so a plus 2, and then we open up brackets again. That term divided by this is just a to the power of 2. There we go. And that divided by that is just a minus 2. And we are done. There's nothing else I can do in the brackets, and we're finished. Excellent. Now, how about the next one? Again, it's grouping. There's no common factor, so I'm going to look for a common factor between the first and the second, and also the third and the fourth. In this one there is a, and then I open up the brackets. What is left? It will be a 2a plus 1. And then I want a 2a plus 1. Both of those are negative. I'm going to take out a negative 2b because the common factor between the base numbers, what can go into 2, that can go into 4, a 2. And I want the sign to become a plus there, right? So I'm going to take out a negative 2, but there's a b and there's a b, so I can take out a b as well. And what is left? So minus 2b divided by minus 2b is a 1. And then minus 4ab divided by minus 2b. The minus and the minus gives a plus. 4 divided by 2 is 2. AB divided by b is just a. And there we go. Now, don't let this stop you or fool you. That is a positive 1 plus 2a. 2a plus 1, that bracket is exactly the same as that one, because when we add, it doesn't matter which one comes first. So I can take out a 2a plus 1, and then I open up brackets. If I take that one divided by this, a is left. And if I take that and I divide it by that, the brackets will cancel and I've got minus 2b left. And I am done. Okay, brilliant. Now, how about the last one? If I look at this one, I can immediately see there's a common factor between the 6, 3, 6 and 12. The common factor is 3. So then we open up brackets and we see that we have left 6 divided by 3 is 2a squared plus a minus 6 divided by 3, which is 2b. And then minus 12ab divided by 3 will be minus 4ab. And let's close it off. And then here you will see that what is left in that brackets is exactly the same as the sum over there, right? I just wanted to show you that sometimes you have to look for a common factor. So all of that is the same as that. So this will become this, right? So let me just show you what it will look like if we go with the first and the third. It will look exactly the same as before, but we just have the common factor still on the outside. You see, I cannot throw it away. So this will become 3, and then we end up with 2a plus 1 and a minus 2b. Because what is in that bracket is exactly the same as that sum. Can you see? Okay, so we have to end up with this. We ended up with that because of what was inside the brackets, but don't forget about the common factor. So this is a nice one for you to try again, or just close this one up and try that and see if you get to that answer. And if you're unsure, just replay this one. And don't forget about your common factor on the outside. Okay, I hope to see you next time. Bye. This is your host Richard T, and thank you for joining us. Please visit our website mathsa.co.za for free guided exam tutorials.